Okay, this is a video on color tags. We put them on weapons to mark how the weapon can be used and what it does in the game. So the first one you need to know is the green tag. Green tag is put on the handle weapon to show that the weapon is safe to be thrown. I can fight with it normally, usually, if it's got a green tag, but it also means that if I wanted to, I could throw it at something. So Mitchell, if you want to come in here, dagger is not that, it doesn't have great range usually. If I try to fight Mitchell this way, it's going to be harder for me to get him since it doesn't have much range, but since I can throw it, I can throw this at him and wound him like that, and I can get him from a long distance. So it's a really great weapon. It gives me a lot more threat, given that I can throw it. Thanks. Some weapons have an orange tag like this, which means they're two-handed. Orange tagged weapons, I have to wield the weapon in both of my hands. I'm not allowed to wield it just like this and fight with it in one hand. It's considered in the game too heavy. I could stand there with it like this if I wanted to, but I can't actually fight with it that way. This one actually also has a green tag on it, which means not only is it two-handed, but it's a throwing weapon. So I could throw it. I don't have to throw it in two hands though. That would be really awkward. Spears are not usually thrown that way. I can throw it in one hand and release it like that. So that's the spear. The next kind of colored tag you're going to find is an armor-piercing tag. It's yellow. What armor-piercing tag does is allows me to cut through body armor. So Kim, if you want to come in for this shot, here. Usually when you're attacking someone with a weapon, if they have a lot of body armor, like if someone's wearing half plate, the only place I can get Kim is here in the middle and in the back, right down there. So trying to attack her normally, I'd have to get her right there. So if I hit her here and here, I can't damage her. That's really tough. But a yellow tag allows me to take the weapon into both hands and convoke, which means raise the weapon over my head, and then call AV0. So I'd say convoke, AV0, and then she should be wounded. AV0 means I'm cutting through her armor. AV is the armor, and 0 means none. So when I say AV0, it means you have no armor when I attack like that. You convoke to show that you are using a lot of strength, because in Fanwire you don't have to tag anybody hard. So when you say convoke, it means I'm going to be hitting you. I would be hitting you really hard, but I don't really want to because I don't want to hurt you. So you convoke and AV0. Thanks, Kim. Great. Now some weapons are both armor piercing and throwing. I have the green and the yellow tag. So this little axe here is a very versatile weapon because I can throw it at people if I want to, but I can also, in close quarters, take it into both hands and convoke and then hit something for AV0 like that. I can't actually convoke and then throw it for AV0. AV0 with armor piercing like this is only usable for melee, in melee types of attacks. So it's only when I swing and hit like this I can't convoke and throw the AV0. Another way to cut through armor is bows. These little packets you're going to find that look like this are always AV0. They'll always punch through armor. And the bow traditionally was armor piercing in medieval times, a very powerful weapon, the English longbow. Now at the range that we use it, it definitely would punch through lots of armor. So Claire, if you want to come in for this, I can show how it punches through the armor. Now in Fanwire, we don't actually shoot arrows out of bows. It would be really unsafe. What we do instead is we tag the string like that to show that I've notched the arrow, and then I throw AV0, and I wound Claire like that. Now normally, Claire, you can get on up, come on over here a little bit, I'd have to hit Claire right in this region right in here. That's called the open armor zone, right there, because she's wearing full plate mail. If I tagged her on one of these other places with a normal weapon, she wouldn't go down. But with an arrow, I can hit her anywhere. It's AV0. I can hit her in the foot or the leg, AV0, and she's wounded like that. So bow is very powerful weapon. Thanks. Okay, that's great. So the last type of color tag you need to know about is mage lore. Mage lore is mostly used by higher level characters. It shows that the weapon is used by mages and wizards usually. It does two things mainly. The main thing that you use mage lore for is to cast high level spells. Certain spells require you to invoke the mage lore, which means to raise it above your head and show that you have that mage lore to cast that high level spell. So if you were casting a spell that requires you to invoke, you would say invoke, and then the name of the spell that you're trying to cast that requires the mage lore. So that's one reason to have mage lore. But another thing that mage lore is useful for is something called staff touch. Staff touch is the ability that all wizards or mages get, and it allows them to use the end of the mage lore as if it was their hand. So things that you could do with your hand, you can now do with the end of this. So normally, you have to tag someone with both your hands to first aid them, but with mage lore and staff touch, I can actually tag someone and say, first aid, and start healing them like that. I can also carry them and move them around. That's why some people like really long mage lore, like this staff. It's two-handed, so I've got to use it in two hands all the time. I can attack with both sides, but the mage lore allows me to first aid people that are really far away, move them around at a distance, some spells are touch spells, and I can actually cast them now through this staff, and it keeps me a lot safer. Not everything that's mage lore gives you staff touch. You've got to be a wizard to do that. But it does really help with casting a lot of spells. So those are all the color tags you need to know.